So Lost Media has always been something interesting to me, and it's interested me through many years of my life. And I've always wanted to talk about it on this channel, but I figured I couldn't really do it justice unless I did sort of like a big project on it. And given the timeline of this video, you bet that this is the project for it. So I took it upon myself to create this monstrosity, which is my own Ultimate Lost Media iceberg, which covers several different categories and topics, totaling over nearly 500 entries. So as you can see, the iceberg is separated into several parts that we will each go over in separate parts of the iceberg. So I'm trying to stick to around 3 layers per episode. So that's 3 layers, 9 layers, you have 3 parts. It's a slam dunk. So this first part of the iceberg will be covering the first 3 layers. So I will upload each part of the iceberg separately, and then once the full iceberg is complete, I'll upload the full iceberg in one video. And I know that this isn't coming even close to scratching the surface in terms of Lost Media and the amount that there is. So if you do want me to make another Ultimate Lost Media iceberg video, please keep it to yourself. I sunk so much time into this. This is several months into the making. I'm recording this on September 12th, and I started the project back in April, so it's taken me so long. I've tried to stray away from topics that have already been found, but if I found them either interesting to me or essential to understanding the Lost Media community and Lost Media as a whole, I've kept them in there just for people who don't necessarily may not know what Lost Media, the term Lost Media, or like Lost Media searches, the community are, just so you can get a base understanding of how this will go on throughout the whole iceberg. So without further ado, this is the Ultimate Lost Media iceberg. So as I discussed earlier, in the iceberg, I've grouped them into different subtopics in the iceberg just to make it a little more easy to follow. So that way we're not going from a piece of audio to a book to an episode to a video game. One layer for one topic, then the next, and so on. Also, if you don't want to see my face for the next 3 hours or 6 hours, if you're watching the full episode, the full video, I highly suggest doing something else to make yourself more productive, because trust me, watching this full video is not productive. So let's get on to the first layer of the iceberg. If there are no other interruptions and nothing else to go over, let's get on to this first layer of the iceberg, which deals with lost episodes. And this layer I reserve specifically for one-off episodes of series that are lost. So if you're looking for Lost Media that pertains to multiple episodes that are lost of TV shows, you want to check out the next layer, which will be lost TV shows. So without further ado, let's get into it. In 2010, Gravity Falls creator Alex Hirsch created a pilot for what would become his series Gravity Falls. The pilot was animated in Flash and ran for roughly 12 minutes, and it was a shortened version of the eventual pilot episode Tourist Trap. In a Reddit AMA that was done later on, when asked about the episode and whether it would be released, Alex said, "Oh Lord, I hope not. That would be like showing you awkward photos from my high school prom." So for the time being, it seemed like the pilot episode wouldn't be seen in full until July of 2016, when he announced that the ongoing Cypher hunt, if it was solved, that the pilot would be released. For those who don't know, the Cypher hunt was an ongoing in real life scavenger hunt, which was basically Hirsch's version of Cicada 3301, where people would find different clues that would lead them to different places from around the world. All of this culminated in finding a Bill Cipher statue, and in front of the statue was a box that was buried in the ground, and inside the box was a username and password that, when entered on the Mysteries of Gravity Falls website, would take you to the full pilot, which has since now been uploaded onto various sites such as YouTube. In January of 2012, Lost Media Wiki user Commander Santa posted on the Lost Media Wiki forums asking people to find a short that he recollected seeing on Pinwheel back in the 1980s. According to Commander Santa, the short involved a young boy laying in bed who gets snatched up by the titular Clockman, a discolored, unkempt entity who emerges from the wall clock above the child's bed at the stroke of midnight. The boy, after being taken on an eerie adventure, is subsequently returned to his bed the next morning. However, another user named Michael W. Howell claimed that the short was about a young girl who made a deal with a wizard, and after losing her red shoes, the deal is that the wizard would replace the shoes so long as the wizard told her mother about the whole ordeal. So the wizard grants her request, and after she did not tell her mother about the ordeal, which I don't know why it's such a big deal that she needs to tell her mother, the wizard then emerges from her wall clock, snatches her up, and demands an explanation. She eventually agrees to make up for it by sewing stars to be placed in the night sky. And then once she's returned, she recounts the entire ordeal to her mother. Very, very weird stuff. Several false leads were made, including the German folktale The Red Shoes, which was about a spoiled orphan girl who wears these red shoes but refuses to take them off. Then a red bearded soldier then places a spell on the shoes to make them dance endlessly, which forces her to get her feet amputated, but the shoes keep dancing. And then she is exalted into heaven. Yeah, don't really mess with the Germans anytime soon. So anyway, this search led the team to a YouTube video that was uploaded by AAA Studios that was confirmed to be the Clockman short, as confirmed by Commander Santa. But the short was under a different name, this one being O Paradive Sally, which was a Soviet Czech film. Cracks, also referred to as Crack Master, was a Lost Sesame Street segment from 1975. The original description, as given by the Children's Television Workshop, the producers behind Sesame Street, was that the segment was about a girl lying in bed who imagines she sees cracks in the walls. Given the very vague and mysterious description, it became a very heavily sought after piece of lost media, especially in the early years of the community. One of the searchers, named John Arman, was sent an anonymous copy of the short, but with heavy strings attached. He was unable to reproduce it for public viewing, and the only way he could show clips to the public was if he made a documentary about the entire search. Several people were then contacted who were believed to have worked on the short, one of these being a woman named Dorothy Moskowitz, who turned out actually narrated the short. She claimed that she was summoned to a studio and was handed a script by a woman in white. Nonetheless, the search came to an end on December 24th, 2013, when Lost Media Wiki founder Daike was sent a copy of the segment, which was then uploaded onto sites such as YouTube. Keeping on topic with Sesame Street, this is a lost episode of Sesame Street, one of the two infamous ones I will talk about. Episode 847 was about the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz visiting Sesame Street after losing a broomstick. She then goes on to terrorize the rest of the characters, at one point threatening to turn Big Bird into a feather duster. The Wicked Witch was reprised by Margaret Hamilton, who, if you didn't know, played the Wicked Witch in the movie. The episode was almost immediately hit with immense amount of backlash from parents claiming that the episode traumatized their kids. The episode was pulled and vowed to be never released again. But it's also important to note that Hamilton also appeared on an episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, where she put on her costume to show the kids that she was just pretending. Anyway, in February of 2019, it was announced that 4,500 Sesame Street episodes were going to be placed into the archive of public broadcasting. Among those was 847, which could only be viewed at the Library of Congress. Then, Jim Henson Legacy president Jim Scheinman held a screening for Lost Sesame Street content, where clips from the episode were shown, along with clips from the other infamous episode I'll talk about later, Snuffy's Parents Get a Divorce. In June of 2022, the full episode was leaked on Reddit. No one knows who did it. It was never explained how they even got a copy in the first place, but the consensus is that the link should not be shared around, as this seems to have been a more illegal finding. I won't spend too much time on this next topic, as you'll see why in a little bit. So Kablam episode 29, it wasn't the 29th episode, it was just named episode 29, was a supposed series finale of the Nickelodeon series Kablam. The episode centered around Henry and June ending the comic book series, with June revealing her crush to Henry by kissing him before saying goodbye to the audience. Now, I talked about this in my Nickelodeon iceberg. If you haven't seen that yet, go watch that. But in that video, I did say that this was ripped straight from Wattpad, but it actually was a very popular rumor that circulated the internet in the early 2000s. However, it was debunked by series creator Mark Merrick, who revealed on his personal blog that the episode was fake, along with posting a link that was labeled episode 29. When clicked, would actually bring you to the real episode 29, your logo here. After iCarly ended in 2012, a spin-off was planned for the character of Gibby. Named simply Gibby, the series would have focused on Gibby becoming a mentor to 4 middle school students who were being bullied as they hang out at the Bixby Rec Center. A pilot was shot, however, was never greenlit by Nickelodeon. Over the years, production material has surfaced, including production stills, a script, and even a audition tape for one of the stars. However, no footage has surfaced as of yet. In 2003, Dan Schneider created a pilot for his series that would eventually become Drake and Josh. This pilot had a lot of different differences that the eventual series would become, the most notable one being Josh's dad, who was played by the late Stephen Furst and not Jonathan Goldstein. Several other minor changes include Drake's hair being styled different, as well as the wardrobes being different. The pilot remained in obscurity until Dan posted screenshots and a now private video on his Dan Warp Twitter account. Dan then privated the video shortly after, but actually went public again, but then was private again. It's kind of like this little back and forth, like, hey, you have it, no you don't. To this day, the pilot has yet to surface, although that short privated video that I talked about has made its way online. According to an old interview with Ed, Edd n Eddy series creator Danny Antonucci, an episode of Ed, Edd n Eddy never made it through because it was too real. Given his response, it was implied that the episode was a bit more serious than the other episodes, and it could have possibly focused on Ed based on other interviews with other crew members. However, over the years, the consensus has become that the episode was never made, as no production material has surfaced of it. The second to last episode of the Disney Channel series, Adventures in Wonderland, featured O.J. Simpson. Allow me to explain. The episode focused on White Rabbit gearing up for an athletic competition and being afraid that he will do poorly. It is when he gets advice from O.J. Simpson when his mood changes. The episode was set to be aired as a part of the 3rd season, but was halted in July of 1994 after O.J. was arrested for the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman, 2 charges he would eventually be acquitted of. Nonetheless, the episode has remained unaired, however was actually adapted into a picture book, which gives the only evidence that this episode was shot, as the book features shots from the episode. Around the mid-1990s, a test pilot would be shot for the series that would eventually become Blue's Clues. The pilot, named Blue's Prince, had several changes, such as Steve's shirt being different and Mr. Salt having a Brooklyn accent rather than the French one he was eventually given. The test was shown to a few select preschoolers to test the show's interactive elements, and it worked pretty well, but like I said, those changes were eventually made into the series that became Blue's Clues. As in terms of the episode's availability, just imagine like keys being dangled over them like babies. In 2006, Nickelodeon aired a 10-year anniversary special that featured clips from the pilot, which was how many first found out about it in the first place. In October 2020, Nickelodeon posted a different design for Blue, confirming that they did indeed still have a copy. In January of 2021, series co-creator Angela Santomero posted an image on her Instagram page of her and Steve when the pilot was first shot. And finally, in September of 2021, Nickelodeon made a 25th anniversary special with more clips of the pilot, which confirmed that the episode's plot was similar to Snack Time, which was another episode of the eventual Blue's Clues series. Man, they want to spend all this time making anniversary specials. They want to spend all this time and money making anniversary specials. By the way, the episode still remains lost to this day. But they don't actually want to release it. I hate media conglomerates. Episode 2985, also known as Snuffy's Parents Get a Divorce, was an episode of Sesame Street that was originally intended to air in April of 1992. As the title suggests, the episode tackled the subject of divorce. The episode centered on the character of Snuffy and his parents getting a divorce, like the title stated. However, the episode tested very negatively with children, with many fearing that their parents didn't love them anymore, or that their parents were going to get a divorce. It was then determined that the episode would not air, as it did not have another 847 incident. Unlike 847, however, this episode remains lost to this day. Sesame Street eventually did take on divorce from an upload on their miniseries Little Children Big Challenges, in which Abby talked about her parents' divorce. This seemed to have been received much more positively. In 2019, along with 847, a screening of clips from the episode was done. You know, the Jim Henson Legacy one I talked about from earlier. In April of 2021, Sesame Street aired a 50th anniversary special, which featured clips from the episode, which confirmed that the CTW still had a copy of the episode. But, as I said, 847 was found, 2985 has not. The 36th episode in Season 3 of The Amazing World of Gumball, titled The Downer, was originally going to be darker than what it turned out to be. The episode centered around Gumball's family trying to cheer him up, and Gumball wishing that everyone was gone, to which his family, along with the rest of Elmore, the people, not the city, disappear as a shadowy darkness attempts to consume him, which eventually it does, but then it was just a dream. It was all in my head. Well, what I'm trying to say is that Gumball eventually found out that it was all in his head. According to series creator, I can never get this name right, Ben Beaucrelette, the original draft was excessively dark, which caused the entire episode to be rewritten. No details of this draft have come to light, but an audio created version of the script was found on a video in Portuguese. During SpongeBob's 9th season, an episode named Space Bob Invader Pans Krabs' Army was planned for the season, however was never made. Details about the segments are sparse, but Space Bob Invader Pants was going to be about SpongeBob and his friends trying to get in contact with alien life. No synopsis for Krabs' Army is available. However, it can be assumed that it's about Mr. Krabs making an army of some sort, possibly in the same vein as Season 3's Plankton's Army. The episode appeared in Nickelodeon schedules in 2014 and 2015, with it possibly to air in the summer of 2015. When asked about the episode, series co-executive Vincent Waller claimed that the episode never made it past storyboards. However, he then contradicted that statement by saying that it never existed in the first place, as he didn't remember it. An image was posted with storyboards for the episode, however it's very hard to make out what exactly is going on. Rude Removal was a 1997 episode of Dexter's Laboratory that was pulled before it was aired for its use of swearing. The episode centered around Dexter creating a machine that would separate the Rude version of himself into a clone, but after he and Dee Dee get into a fight, they both are forced into the machine, to which the machine creates Rude versions of themselves as clones. These clones would do delinquent things and swear, albeit censored. Cartoon Network actually greenlit the episode, however, was pulled shortly before airing, seemingly after Cartoon Network got cold feet and decided not to air it. Even though the swearing was censored, it was very, very implied. The episode was more an urban legend around Cartoon Network fans, more because there was no way that they could make an episode like this right. Well, actually, the episode was confirmed to have been real. According to Craig McCracken in 2010, who storyboarded the episode, he confirmed it was real, and series creator Genndy Tartakovsky confirmed that it was real during a Reddit AMA. He then said that he would bring it with him to his next public appearance, but nothing really came about that, so that lead kind of died on arrival. Adult Swim would then start to catch wind of the episode and started airing bumpers stating that they potentially could get a copy of the episode, and when they succeeded in getting a copy of the episode, They then posted a tweet saying, "With love from Adult Swim," along with a link to a now private YouTube video, which was rude removal. But since then, the episode has been uploaded on many other sites, such as YouTube. But according to Craig McCracken, there was uncensored audio recorded for the episode. However, this audio remains lost. In 1999, Blue's Clues creator Angelo Santamero created a stop-motion pilot for a series that would eventually become Super Why. However, the pilot was rejected, and after it went through production hell, the series was eventually made in 2007. The original pilot has not seen the light of day. However, the original audio was found and uploaded to YouTube by user PDoc64. There were old clips of the pilot that were available on Cup of Coffee's old website. However, these were actually confirmed to be from an earlier version of the pilot, meaning that there were two different versions of this early pilot. None of the clips have come to light since, and the full pilot remains lost. The Very First Gentleman was an episode of season 20 of South Park that was pulled from airing before it aired, not by Comedy Central, but by Trey Parker and Matt Stone themselves. The whole basis of season 20 was a big storyline surrounding the 2016 election. The whole season was pretty much made with the assumption that Hillary Clinton would win, which would have culminated in the episode The Very First Gentleman. However, as we all know, Donald Trump ended up winning the election, which caused the episode to be pulled and remade into OGs. The only piece from this episode comes from a trailer that was aired for that episode. Adios Inocencia, also known as Goodbye Innocence, is an unaired episode of a Mexican TV series named La Rosa de Guadalupe. The series centered around touching on subjects such as drug addiction and mental health issues by creating dramatizations of real events. One of these episodes centered around an incident where a camp was attacked by an armed group and several girls were sexually assaulted. A sneak peek was aired in August of 2012, just 1 month after the attacks. Angry parents of the victims sent complaints into the network to not air the episode, and thus it was never aired. However, there are claims that the episode aired sometime in 2013 or 2014, but this has not been confirmed. Today, only the sneak peek survives, and it is unlikely we will see anything else. Great Temptation was an Australian game show that aired from 1970 to 1975. This episode, specifically unofficially dubbed the Valerie episode, centered around a contestant named Valerie who tragically died on stage. According to host Tony Barber, he stated, "No one was very sure at first because she actually won the game. I said, 'Congratulations, Valerie, you won,' and she slopped. There was a bit of confusion. We cleared the studio and the doctors were called. I said, 'How is she? She seems passed out.' And he said, 'Tony, she's passed on.' It was awful and very upsetting for everyone there. No one knows what killed her or how much she actually won. As much research as I've done myself, I couldn't find any obituaries from around that time relating to anybody named Valerie, and there's not a lot of information other than the interview from Tony Barber. The episode will most likely never be released if it still exists, as reusing tapes was very common around the time, so it's very possible that the episode's tape was just taped over for another episode, which would have rendered it completely lost. You're in the Picture was a game show that aired in 1961. The premise of the show surrounded celebrities that would stick their heads into pop culture or historical events, and they would have to guess what it was based on certain questions. The premise sounds really bad. The show was hosted by Jackie Gleason and aired for only 1 episode. The show was incredibly panned on release, and it went on to become named one of the worst shows ever created. So for the second episode's time slot, Gleason went on for a half hour and apologized for the episode and ripped it a new one. It's actually really funny if you watch it. The internet made Gleason an instant hit and skyrocketed his popularity. In 1985, when Gleason was on the Johnny Carson show, Carson claimed that he was on an episode of You're in the Picture, which gave evidence to a second episode existing. This second episode has not come to light and most likely will stay lost forever. The first episode of the game show, along with Gleason's full apology, are available on YouTube. In March of 1964, NBC created a test pilot for their popular staple game show, Jeopardy! The 3 contestants were Grace Miller, Jesse Bigelow, and Dolores Green, with Grace winning the episode. The episode was pretty much not known until 2002, when NBC aired its 4,000th episode of Jeopardy! When we first got a look at the unaired pilot. The episode was pretty much the same as the actual show, but instead of the late Alex Trebek, the show was hosted by Art Fleming. Clips would be released over the next coming years until 2022, when Jeopardy's official YouTube channel announced that the episode would be released on March 30th for the show's 50th anniversary. And as promised, the full unaired pilot would be released on their YouTube channel, although it has since been taken down. The episode has been uploaded onto several sites, such as the Internet Archive. Meso Blues is a 1994 animated short that Van Partible created while he was still in college. The short was about an over-the-hill aging rock star who thinks he's Elvis. The short originally was going to be about 3 Elvis impersonators, but was shortened to just 1. If this looks familiar to you, this would eventually become his Cartoon Network series, Johnny Bravo. Partible's animation professor showed this short to his friend who worked at Hanna-Barbera, and they liked it. The character was changed to look more like James Dean, but still talked like Elvis. The short has remained lost, although some bits and pieces of footage are available from different documentaries and DVD special features. Partible has went on record to state that he does have a VHS copy of the short, but doesn't show it as it has too much internal value to him as him growing as an artist, which is a pretty valid reason, not gonna lie. The short will most likely never resurface because of this reason. Okay, I know what you're thinking, but just bear with me. If you know this topic, then you know the, pardon my French, the shitstorm that is associated with it. But let me say before I explain this topic, I don't think this exists, but I'm still going to include it. Saki Sanobashi, also known as Go for a Punch, is a supposed deep web lost anime. The episode was first brought to light on the ex-paranormal board of 4chan. The thread was about the most messed up things that people had seen on the deep web, and someone posted that they remember seeing an 80s style anime about a group of girls who were stuck in a bathroom with no windows or doors. Thus, there was no way to get out of the bathroom. They would then have a philosophical conversation about not being able to get out of the bathroom before all of them go crazy and they kill each other. The story, of course, spread like wildfire due to its obscure nature and dark theme. A Discord server was created and people started to scour the internet looking for things that could be Saki Sanobashi. This is where the name Go for a Punch came from, as one person posted on that 4chan board saying that that was the English name of the anime. A lot of people actually believed it because of the amount of weird 80s anime there were. Also, the English name sounded real, at least to a lot of internet denizens, as they like to say. Like, a lot of anime English names are really bizarre. Well, as the years went by, nothing really came. People would post on Discord and Reddit with a screenshot of an old anime girl in a bathroom and say, "Is this Saki?" But the search eventually devolved into complete insanity, as many people were starting to believe that it wasn't real. In 2019, a Reddit throwaway account named Saki Sanobashi OP posted claiming that he was the original poster of the 4chan post and said that it was fake. Although this has not been confirmed, although he was never confirmed to have been the original poster, most people took his word for it. Since then, the search has pretty much died down, and Saki pretty much just became a meme. Now it's just devolved into people taking random pictures of cartoons in bathrooms and saying, "Is this Saki?" However, some people are actually more interested in recreating the anime, and currently, at least I think, there is a recreation effort going on, which would recreate the episode from the story with animation, sound effects, and voice acting. Personally, I don't think this exists. It just sounds way too stupid. It's like one of those cliche creepypastas like Sonic.exe that use over-the-top gore to add shock value to the story. It just doesn't sound real. So most likely, at least, the episode is confirmed to be fake. The episode Sugar Time from the Arthur spin-off Postcards from Buster was banned in the United States for portraying a lesbian couple. The episode was about a girl who lived in Heinsberg, Vermont, who was coming up with a Mother's Day gift for her two mothers. The episode portrayed the couple as loving and caring for the daughter, but nonetheless, PBS pulled the episode from broadcasting, stating that many parents would not want their young children exposed to the lifestyles portrayed in this episode. I'm not kidding, that's the actual quote. The episode was pulled after its initial airing, but was put up by someone on Kiss Cartoon in 2015, to which it's been mirrored on other sites. Trepanation of the Skull and You was a short that was created by Billy and Mandy creator Maxwell Atoms while he was still in college. The short was about two characters, Billy and Mandy, with Mandy performing trepanation on Billy, who loses a lot of blood and passes out. Adams said that the short was too violent for Cartoon Network, but would serve as the basis for the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy, with Adams adding the Grim Reaper as the third protagonist. The short was believed to have used the art style of an old piece of concept art pictured here. However, the actual short was done more in the style of 1920s to 1930s animated shorts, and the characters were different. In 2016, Adams found the short and revealed it at the Trom Animation Festival in New York. The day after the festival, the whole short was uploaded to his YouTube channel. Although the film has some deterioration, it is still viewable. There are several deleted scenes from SpongeBob. A couple of them include a scene from the episode Doing Time, where Mrs. Puff's dad is shown, where Tom Kenny is credited for voicing. Nothing is really known about this one though. The two scenes I do want to talk about are the scenes from Just One Bite and I Was a Teenage Gary. The first set from Just One Bite initially aired but was pulled from airing, supposedly after the 9/11 attacks. The scene surrounded Squidward sneaking into the Krusty Krab after hours to eat Krabby Patties. In the episode today, the scene cuts right to when he gets to the Patty Vault. However, in the initial airing, Squidward is met with a burglar alarm, which is a bucket of gasoline that was hung over the door, which then falls onto him and is lit by a match. And when he gets into the kitchen, the same thing happens. The fact that the scene was cut because of 9/11 doesn't really match up, as the episode aired in October of 2001. So the more plausible reason is that this was cut because it was too violent. The second scene that I want to talk about is the I Was a Teenage Gary transformation scene. Towards the end of the episode, after Squidward is injected with snail fluid, there is a noticeably out of place wipe transition that occurs rather than the usual bubble transition. The theory states that the scene featuring Squidward's transformation was cut right before it aired, in which they placed a wipe transition because there was no time to add a bubble transition. Some even claim to have seen the scene when it first aired and the wipe transition was added later. However, the scene was never storyboarded, as confirmed by current showrunner Vincent Waller. However, it was confirmed that a transformation scene was planned at some point in the original outline, but was never storyboarded due to time concerns. Me and My Friends was a live action pilot that was filmed at the since closed Nickelodeon Studios in Orlando, Florida. The pilot was filmed in 1998. This pilot would be reworked into the 2002 animated series The Backyardigans. Not much information was known about it for a while until more recently, when production material started to slowly surface. 3 seconds of footage was shown as a part of a 10-year Nickelodeon Studios anniversary video that was made in 2000, and many production stills have surfaced. However, there isn't much more to it. There isn't even a synopsis on the pilot, but unless Nickelodeon catches wind of it, it's unlikely that it will be released anytime soon. Within the world of Power of Women, also known as Chikara to Ono no Yo no Naka, is a 1933 lost anime short film, and it's considered the first anime with sound. The short was created by Kenzo Masaoka after the talkie craze started to grip the United States, with the first feature film to include sound, 1927's The Jazz Singer. Shochiku, the studio behind the first Japanese feature film to use sound, The Neighbor's Wife and Mine, commissioned Kenzo to create the short, and that's how it came to be. The plot followed a main character and his wife, they don't have names in the short, who are the parents of 4 children. Because the husband is being henpecked at home by the wife, he forms an affair with a typist at work, at which he confesses in his sleep. She then goes to confront the typist and the husband at work, and That's it. There's not much is known after it. There isn't much known about it, like where it premiered or the runtime, and there isn't a lot of production material of the short that is available. The voice cast is known, with the husband being voiced by Rapa Furukawa and the wife being voiced by Ranko Sawa. It's very unlikely that the short has survived, as currently there are no prints that are known to exist. This was a supposed lost short that was created in 1938. The story goes that Max Fleischer wanted to surprise animators at his studio as a thanks for moving from his New York studio to his Miami studio. He created a pornographic short of Betty Boop and Popeye to show his animators, complete with voice acting, backgrounds, and even a music score. The short is said to have been more humorous than a vessel for sexual pleasure, with Betty giving Popeye an extremely warm welcome. One of these scenes includes a moment where Popeye gets worn out from one of these sessions, to which, in typical Popeye fashion, he takes out a can of spinach and eats it to finish the job. The story was recounted by entertainment writer Jim Hill in 2003. The Fleischer brothers were kicked out of their studio in 1943 and the film reel vanished. However, some claim to have seen it in animated pornography tapes from the 1980s. To this day, nothing from the short has surfaced, only the recounting by Jim Hill. Life Sucks was the unfinished 8th episode of the Ren and Stimpy adult party cartoon that aired on Spike TV. This episode was started, however, the series was cancelled midway through production. The episode centered around optimistic and pessimistic themes, with Stimpy believing that the world is filled with happiness and Ren believing that the world was filled with darkness. The episode was proclaimed by many Spumco employees to have been the greatest Ren and Stimpy episode ever made. Some thought that the episode was a prequel to the second episode of adult party cartoon Ren Seeks Help. Only 8 minutes of the animatic are available, however John Kay has released sketches, which means that he potentially has more to the episode than what is currently available. This was an episode of Wheel of Fortune that aired on, you guessed it, November 2nd, 1992. The episode can be found online, however has a particular part that was cut out before the episode even aired. Now before we go further, you'll need to understand how game shows are taped. Game shows are usually taped in bulk weeks out from the air date and are taped in several days. So for example, one set of contestants and audience members will come through, then once they're finished taping that episode, they'll switch it out for a new set of contestants and audiences, and so on until that day is complete. So just little, what do they call it? The make the long story short, I guess. I was trying to think of the little Reddit saying they say. But just know that this episode was filmed way before November 2nd. TLDR. That's what I was thinking as TLDR. The second puzzle of the episode was supposed to spell out Vanna's pregnant. However, unfortunately, she had a miscarriage not long after the episode was taped. Instead, the producers put a short clip about the making of the episode to supplement the lost time. This is why at the end of the clip, Pat tells the audience that they played another round and Donna won, which was particularly odd. This meant that most likely, this part was filmed after Vanna's miscarriage. The original footage of the puzzle has not surfaced, however might still exist within archives. Legend of the Hidden Temple was a game show that ran on Nickelodeon from 1993 to 1995. Although none of the episodes are lost, one segment from this series is. This scene, the final round, which is known as the Temple Run, concerned a part of the temple known as the Pit of Despair. The Pit of Despair was a room where contestants would have to crawl around and find a button to open a door to move along into the next area. According to the show's host Kirk Fogg, one of these contestants, a young girl, ended up getting terrified in the room and vomited, which caused the take to be cut and the run to temporarily end. It's unknown what exactly made her vomit, but it was most likely because she was tired, as temple runs would be filmed during the nighttime hours. It's also unknown where the footage is, but was most likely confiscated since the take was unusable. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood Conflict is a 5-part series arc that deals with the concept of conflict and war. The arc, created in November of 1983, was believed to have been a direct response to ABC's The Day After, which aired in that same month. The arc's plot centers around King Friday, believing that Southwood was making bombs, so he begins to create his own bombs. but in the end, the parts that are believed to have been for bombs were actually for a bridge. The arc was pulled from airing in 1996 and was considered lost for a long time. In 2017, YouTube user Trog Sleep Now uploaded the first 2 episodes, which have since been taken down. The full arc was uploaded to My Spleen, which has been uploaded elsewhere. In 2017, Lost Media Wiki user YoshiKiller2S completed an extensive restoration of the full arc and uploaded it onto My Spleen and the Internet Archive. Need water. In September of 2003, Nickelodeon aired a pilot for Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. The episode had aspects that were different from the final product, such as the character of Boogie, played by Stephen Markarian. He was eventually recast as Albert Warbenheimer, and the character's name was changed to Cookie and recast as Daniel Curtis Lee. The pilot aired a few times since it initially aired, however has slipped through the public's eye. Staying on the topic, after the series ended, Devin Werkheiser signed a development contract for a spin-off series titled Ned's Declassified High School Survival Guide. The series would follow the characters as they transitioned out of middle school and into high school. A pilot was shot, however was never greenlit. Rumors circulated around why the pilot was never greenlit. Some pointed to the actors not signing on, as Daniel Curtis Lee was busy with the Disney series Zeke and Luther, and it was unsure if Lindsay Shaw had even signed on. In a long deleted YouTube video, Werkheiser confirmed that the series was not going to be made due to budget concerns. Bye Bye Beavers was a pitched episode that was supposed to be the series finale of the Nickelodeon series The Angry Beavers. The episode's plot centered around Norbit and Daggett getting a letter in the mail stating that their series was cancelled. The fourth wall gets broken numerous times, with the two even going on to address themselves as their voice actor names. At the end of the episode, the two start vanishing before shouting April Fools, meaning that this actually wasn't going to be the final episode. The episode was rumored to be fake for a while until the full audio and some storyboards surfaced for the episode. However, the episode was never animated due to Nickelodeon not allowing the episode to go further in production. In 2000, Fox commissioned a spin-off pilot for King of the Hill named Monsignor Martinez. The show was based off of the in-universe TV series of the same name. Instead of being animated though, this pilot was live action. The pilot was created by King of the Hill co-creators Mike Judge and Greg Daniels. The pilot was shot and fully completed, however was not picked up by Fox, supposedly due to the fact that it was about a priest going around and shooting people. Much wasn't known about the pilot until 2019 when Reddit user Juanito Say claimed to have a copy of the pilot, showing 4 seconds of it on Reddit. In July of 2021, YouTube user Gabriel Ernesto Cabal uploaded the full pilot, which can still be viewed online. Other than some audio mixing issues, it seemed like the episode was ready to air, but no closing credits are shown in the episode. The Funday Paw Pet Show was an internet series that ran from 1999 to 2017 and has been regarded as one of the longest web series in history. The show ran for 749 episodes, however one of them is lost to this day. The episode, which was made on the night of September 11, 2001, was scrambled together and made in order to comfort and reassure those who were affected by the tragedy. Although no material has surfaced from this episode, many that recounted the episode claimed that it brought them to tears. As the show was based on humor and silliness, this was more serious. The special was not made available for download, unlike many of the other episodes, and it has seemed to have been lost to time. In 2019, a video on YouTube was believed to have been 8 minutes from the lost special, but this was confirmed to have been from a separate episode that was made the weekend after 9/11. It's even speculated that the creators do not even have a copy of this special. 12 Ounce Mouse is a classic series if you're a fan of Adult Swim shows. This is a series that began airing in 2005, however the original pilot was created in 2004. Not much is known about the pilot, but series editor John Breaston was interviewed by Corndog Central, a popular fan website, in 2021. He explains that the then Adult Swim vice president, Keith Crawford, voiced Golden Joe instead of Vishal Roney. Golden Joe was also going to be the boss of the protagonist Mouse Fitzgerald. He said that he did not save the pilot in any form and did not share it with anyone else, which means that this pilot is completely lost. The Rex was a canceled season 2 episode of The Amazing World of Gumball. Not much is known about the episode and only some storyboards have been released, but it can be assumed that the episode had something to do with the character of Tina Rex. As in the storyboard, she is shown alongside with her father attacking Gumball. According to series creator Ben Bocquelet, the episode was too expensive to make and wasn't worth the cost. America After Dark was a television series that aired on NBC from 1956 to 1957. The show centered on specific news stories and served as the nightly counterpart to the Today Show, which still airs to this day. The episode centered on a reunion between the comedy group known as the Marx Brothers, no relation to Karl Marx, consisting of brothers Harpo, Zeppo, Chico, Groucho, and Gummo. The episode did air but was never preserved by the network, which led to it being lost most likely forever unless there is somehow a home recording. In 2005, the Jim Henson Company made a pilot for Disney that was eventually canceled. The series was to be called America's Next Muppet, and was a parody of shows like America's Got Talent and American Idol. A pilot was filmed in 2005 and pitched to Disney, which was greenlit to air as a 5-episode miniseries on ABC. The show would have centered on Kermit gearing up for a talent show and enlisting the help of Miss Piggy and Gonzo to judge different Muppet characters for that show. The series was also planned to have been interactive, with viewers at home being able to vote on the winner, like what AGT and American Idol does for their series. It's unknown why the series was canceled, and Disney has not made mention of it since, which means that it will most likely stay lost forever. Dark Shadows was a gothic soap opera that ran from 1966 to 1971. The series centered around a wealthy family and the supernatural creatures that they would encounter. A lot of people fondly remember this series, and it has gained a cult following that lasts to this day. 3 films were produced, 2 during the original run and 1 in 2012, a revival series in 1991, comics, novels, and more were all made for the series. Out of the 1,225 episodes, most of them being archived, episode 1219 is partially lost. The episode only aired once, but a reconstruction was made of the episode with the audio that someone had recorded from the airing, along with stills from other episodes of the series. Climax was an anthology series that aired on CBS from 1954 to 1958. The series centered around live performances of different stories. One of these episodes, the premiere episode, based on the 1953 novel of the same name by Raymond Chandler, was aired once and never again. The incident has since been dubbed the Walking Corpse Incident. The incident occurred during a scene where Tristram Coffin was supposed to be a murder victim, and detectives were to examine his body. During this scene, believing he was out of frame, Tristram got up, removed his sheet, and walked off stage. The other actors stayed in character and eventually solved his seemingly non-existent murder. The episode was never aired since its premiere airing, and the episode has fallen into lost media. Written accounts of the incident exist online, but without the series being available on home media, it is very unlikely that the episode will ever be released if it is still even archived at CBS. Down the Mine is the unaired pilot that was created for Thomas the Tank Engine in 1983. The episode was believed to have been adapted from the Railway series book of the same name. The models of some of the characters were different, including Gordon. It's also believed that some of the pilot's footage was reused for future episodes. The episode has turned into a sort of holy grail for the Thomas the Tank Engine community. Scripts, concept art, production stills, all that good stuff have surfaced, but the pilot remains mostly lost. Around 1996, Disney made a pitch pilot for the 101 Dalmatians, the series. Not much is known about this pilot except for a sneak peek of the series, featuring the next topic I will talk about as well. This sneak peek also gave viewers a look at a character named Penny, who was not in the final series. Not much is known about her either, and it was unknown why she was cut from the final series. The Break-In was a lost pilot, similar to the last pilot, but this time was for the series Recess. The pilot was pitched at the same time as the 101 Dalmatians pilot and was featured in the same sneak peek for that series. The pilot had a different animation style and the characters looked different. An interesting tidbit about this is that according to series creator Paul Germain, those clips from the sneak peek were actually the only ones that were animated from the original animatic, which was made before the final designs were actually set in stone. The animatic has not been released, but the episode The Break-In was remade for the first episode of the series. In 2005, Disney created an 11-minute pilot for the animated Playhouse Disney series Handy Manny. The pilot was animated in CGI instead of using cel shading. The pilot had several changes, including Manny working outside his house and Mr. Lopart being his next door neighbor. The only video that can be seen of the pilot is a short segment of a DKP Studios demo reel. Several screenshots and some concept art have been leaked as well. Given the concept art, it seems like Manny would have also looked different as well. Sometime in 1939 to 1941, Disney planned on remaking the 1935 Mickey Mouse short, Mickey's Man Friday. The film would have been included on a short film named Mickey's Revival Party, which would have included other Mickey Mouse shorts that were remade with new character designs and color added. However, sometime after it was started, the project seemed to have been cancelled. It is unknown if any animation was completed, but rough sketches have surfaced. A pilot was created for a series that was based off of the Herbie the Love Bug movie series. Not much is known about the pilot, but it was created by Modern Cartoons, who was known for creating JJ the Jet Plane. Only a couple screenshots have surfaced. Unknown to a lot of people, there is a supposed second pitch pilot of the Playhouse Disney series Little Einsteins. The only mention of this comes from an autobiography of series creator Douglas Wood. A couple images have surfaced claiming to be from the pitch pilot, but has not been confirmed by an official source. Given the images that are available, this pitch would have been 2D animated instead of 3D animated. In a 2006 episode of Mythbusters, a segment in the episode Steam Cannon featured an experiment that was done to test whether there is more nutrition in cardboard than cereal. In order to do this, they placed mice in 3 groups. One group that was eating normal mouse food, one group was eating sugary cereal, and the last group eating cardboard. But rather than the myth being tested, the experiment found that one of the mice that was eating the cardboard had eaten the other 2 mice. Adam Savage claims to have shown the segment at a Michigan college, but was forbidden from showing it again. And finally, in 2007, HBO announced a series to be produced by Larry Charles, known for producing shows such as Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm. This series was called A Little Inappropriate and was to star rapper Kanye West. The series was said to have been similar in writing and comedy style to Curb Your Enthusiasm and would have focused on West's life, inspired by actual experiences. The pilot was said to have been too hardcore, which led to it being shelved. The pilot became heavily sought after until June of 2023, when Reddit user Sam Vision discovered the full pilot on Charles's Vimeo, which was accidentally made public. The link was reprivated, but has since been mirrored on sites such as YouTube. Are you still there? Hello? Are you still there? You are? Okay, good. Because that was only layer 1. We still have 8 more layers to go. That was the first layer. It's done. We still have 8 more to go. So this next part of the iceberg talks about lost shows. These are categorized as shows with multiple missing episodes, and some of them are shows that were pulled before they aired or were never made but have material from them being lost. So let's get into layer 2, lost TV shows. Toon News was a series of interstitial shorts that ran on Toon Disney from 2004 to 2005. The series centered around Smokey Silvers, a robot newsman that piloted a blimp over Toontown to deliver the news. The series ran for 26 5-minute long segments. Out of the 26 episodes, half of them are available, with 12 out of the 13 episodes of Season 1 being available, and only 1 out of the 13 episodes being available for Season 2. Adventures in Nutrition with Captain Carlos was a series of educational shorts that aired on Playhouse Disney from 2004 to 2007. The shorts centered around a 6-year-old boy named Carlos who would be educated on healthy habits. The series was often criticized as it advised children to avoid junk food entirely, which is very unreasonable. For a long time, the series was mostly unavailable. However, it was theorized that Playhouse Disney DVD releases pre-2009 could include some shorts. A YouTuber named Paradisa Legged, weird name by the way, uploaded all the shorts, but they were taken down, which caused them to become lost again, although all these shorts have been found in some way or another. Team Supremo was a series that aired on Toon Disney from 2002 to 2004. The show focused on 3 superhero children named Captain Crandall, Skate Lad, and Rope Girl, with them being some of the worst superhero names I have ever heard as they fight supervillains. Despite boasting a very stacked voice cast of Tim Curry, Mark Hamill, and Conrad from the Cat in the Hat movie, the series remains partially lost, with all of seasons 1 and 2 being available, but season 3 being mostly lost. Nightmare Ned was a 1997 series that aired on ABC and created by Disney. Based off the Windows PC game of the same name, the series followed Ned Needlemeyer as he confronted versions of his real-life anxieties in his dreams. The series ran over budget and never got a chance to get off the ground, as the series was canceled after only 12 episodes, all of which have been found. Out of Jimmy's Head was a series that aired on Cartoon Network from September of 2007 to May of 2008. Gotta wait for the teleprompter. Yes, I'm running a teleprompter by the way, because apparently I can't read words off of a Google Doc. The series was a spin-off of the film Reanimated. The show followed Jimmy Roberts, a 7th grader that after a traumatic brain injury receives the brain of a deceased cartoonist whose creations come alive and act as voices in Jimmy's head, which is actually pretty dark, I'm not gonna lie. Out of the 20 episodes made of the series, 10 are found in their original forms, with the other 10 being dubbed. These next 2 topics are very interesting to me, as I personally remember watching these when I was a kid, and I actually had no idea they were lost media. I've also grouped them together because they're pretty similar. So first, I will talk about the Game of Life. The Game of Life was a game show that aired on the Hub Network from September of 2011 to April of 2012. As the name suggests, the game show was based off of the board game of the same name. The show was hosted by Frank Nicotero, and the basis of the show was that 2 families of 3 would take a virtual car ride on the board that would lead them to several different trivia questions that would earn them life points if they answered correctly. Afterwards, they would play an in-real-life activity game, which would allow the other family to close the gap and potentially win. What they would win would be an opportunity on the Wheel of Life. I need to wait for the teleprompter. Afterwards, they would play an in-real-life activity game, which would allow the other family to close the gap and potentially win the opportunity to spin the Wheel of Life. The family with the most points at the end would be able to do so. First, the family would answer questions based on what another family member answered, and if they guessed what they actually said, they would be granted an additional grand prize spot on the wheel. Then they would be asked if the wheel would land on an odd or even number, and depending on the answer, the numbers would flip to grand prize spots. Then they would be able to put on their additional numbers from the questionnaire from earlier. Then they would spin, and if they win, they're awarded the grand prize, which most of the time was a vacation, and if not, they would be sent home with a consolation prize. The series ran for 30 episodes, and as of 2023, all of them have been found, with the exception of episode 29, which has been partially found. Now, let's get on to Family Game Night. Family Game Night was a game show that ran also on the Hub Network from October of 2010 to November of 2014. The show's premise was that families would play supersized interactive versions of popular Hasbro games such as Connect 4 Basketball and Sorry Sliders. At the end, they would collect Monopoly Crazy Cash cards, which can be redeemed for cash at the end. The show ran for 5 seasons of 101 episodes, with many of them falling lost. However, through an extensive search effort, all of the show has been found. One of Nickelodeon's most popular TV series, All That, is indeed considered lost media. For those who don't know, the series was a sketch comedy series that would usually have musical performances at the end of each episode. Those performances in later years have fallen into copyright troubles with the music licenses expiring. Out of the 178 episodes, 11 of them are incomplete. 13 are lost, including an unaired episode with Brie Larson, Captain Marvel Brie Larson, and the rest have been found. Sunday Pants was a short series that was similar to What a Cartoon. What made this series stand out is that it focused on overseas shorts. The series ran from October of 2005 to October of 2005 for only 11 episodes, although only 5 were aired. Originally, there were supposed to be 13 episodes. The reason for the cancellation was most likely because of the use of swearing and drug and alcohol references. Out of the 11 episodes that were made, 10 of them have been found, with the other one being partially found. The 2 cancelled episodes have remained lost, with the episodes being left unfinished. I love this little teleprompter, going so much better with my recording. Big Bag was a short-lived preschool series that aired on Cartoon Network from 1996 to 1998. The series was a sort of spiritual successor to Sesame Street, as a children's television workshop, the producers of Sesame Street, co-produced this series as well. There was even a crossover episode where Elmo visited Shelly, the main character, revealing that the two were actually pen pals. Out of the 39 episodes, only 8 have been found in full, with 4 of them being partially found. JBVO Your All Request Cartoon Show was a little known spin-off of Johnny Bravo that ran on Sundays in 2000 and ended as late as August of 2001. The show's premise was that viewers would call in requests for Johnny to play shows on Cartoon Network, with one episode in particular including Johnny taking a request from Jennifer to play Dragon Ball Z, but the episode was played at 2x speed with Johnny giving commentary over it. Out of these 65 episodes believed to have existed, 12 remain lost, with 3 being partially found. Weirdos was a series based off of the 1960s toys of the same name. The series was mostly lost for a long time, with many of the little home media releases going for a pretty penny on sites such as eBay. However, all but the unaired pilot have been found in their English form. The unaired pilot in its English form is partially found. As for the French dub of the series, 13 are lost and 1 is partially found out of the 26 episodes of the series. Dream House was an ABC game show that ran from March of 1968 to January of 1970. There was a revival of the show in 1983 to 1984 that aired on NBC. The original run was hosted by Mike Darrow, and the revival was hosted by Bob Eubanks of the Newlywed Game fame, and had the contestants try to win their dream house. The original series had controversy attached to it, as most of the houses that were given away, according to TV Guide, weren't actually completed at the time they were given out, and the contestants had to use up a lot of their $7,000 prize money to finish the houses. This is most likely because the studio thought that most of the contestants wouldn't actually take the house if they won, but would actually instead take the cash prize. Although episodes have surfaced from here and there, it's likely that all of them will never become available, especially the revival, which had all the tapes destroyed in a flood of the house of series creator Don Reed. Nickelodeon Splat was a game show that aired in the summer of 2004. The contestants were divided into colors based off of the month they were born in. Contestants would perform different tasks in order to win prizes, and the winning team at the end of each episode would slime specific areas of the audience. The show ran from July to October of 2004, and was the final program taped at Nickelodeon Studios Orlando before it closed in April of 2005. Out of the 64 episodes aired, only 2, yes, 2 out of 64 episodes are available. Our Little Genius was a game show that was intended to air in January of 2010 to be hosted by Kevin Pollak. The premise of this show was that kids were given 10 questions to answer. They were given 2 assists, one for letting an adult see the question, and another one for a panel of experts to offer advice. So based on the premise, it seemed to have been a mix between Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader? The reason that the show is lost is because a week before it was scheduled to air, questions arose about the integrity of the show, as a member of the production team had given a contestant and their parents the answer to 4 different questions. Soon the FTC got involved and the show was canceled, with episodes of American Idol and The Simpsons being filled into the show's time slot. Only a short promo exists of the series, and it is unlikely that any episodes will resurface. Alright, so my camera died. That was fun. For some reason, it's showing on the monitor that the camera is not stabilized, that it's tilting. So, and I just, this tripod is really, really bad and really, because I got it from Walmart. If the, okay, first of all, I just noticed that. Now we're back. Okay, so the camera died. I had to take it off the tripod. And now it's showing on the monitor that it's not stabilized, like it's tilting. So if the video is off balance, it's like very, very tiny, but if it's off balance in any way, like I tried fiddling with it for like 15 minutes, I couldn't get it centered. So if it's off center, I'm very, very sorry. All right, let me start the teleprompter back up and let's get back into this. Wienerville was a variety puppet series that aired on Nickelodeon from July of 1993 to February of 1996. The show centered around the fictitious Wienerville and the puppets inside of it, with the show including many sketches. Despite being critically successful and being nominated for multiple awards, most of the episodes remain lost. Out of these 62 episodes for the series, 14 are lost and 6 are partially lost, with a majority of those lost episodes coming from Season 2, with the other 14th episode being the last episode in Season 1. Davey and Goliath was a Christian claymation series that was created in 1961. The show centered around Davey and his pet dog Goliath, as they get into different kinds of moral conflicts that would attempt to instill a life lesson in its viewers while teaching them about the Bible. While the series is fully available to watch online and has gone on to influence other series such as Adult Swim's Moral Orel, there is an unauthorized dub of the series that was created, dubbed the You Dick dub. This is a collection of 14 episodes of the series that were dubbed over with raunchy and offensive content. Tapes containing the dub were found at an unnamed university, and most of them was subsequently burned by Lutheran church members. While the producers have remained anonymous throughout the years, only 2 out of the 14 tapes were recovered and archived in poor quality. Because of the burning of the tapes, it's very unlikely that anything else will resurface unless there were copies made. Considered one of Nickelodeon's most beloved series, Double Dare was a game show that originally ran from 1986 to 1993 before being revived in 2000, before being revived once again from 2018 to 2019. The series focused on contestants answering trivia questions and going through different interactive challenges and obstacle courses. Out of the 482 episodes in total created for the series, and that involves like Double Dare, Super Sloppy Double Dare, Family Double Dare, etc., etc., 462 of them are available. However, there are 3 separate episodes that I'd like to talk about. The first one has been dubbed the Old Timer Special. This was a special of the Family Double Dare series that starred Double Dare crew members as well as Nickelodeon Studios Orlando crew members as well. Although the special would have been pretty fun to see, it was never released, seemingly because there were a lot of rule breaks that would have raised a few eyebrows. Reading about this seems more like a group of co-workers messing around on their free time rather than actually being a special that was supposed to be taped for TV. The next episodes I would like to talk about are much more dark in nature. If you've seen my Nickelodeon iceberg, you'll know which episodes I'm talking about. The first episode featured a contestant with osteogenesis imperfecta, which is commonly referred to as brittle bone disease. According to stories, the contestant had lied about his condition on the application of the show and made it to tape. During one of the challenges, the kid fell and broke his arm, which caused the bone to go through the skin. According to Mark Summers, the host of the show, he had to leave the set thinking he was going to throw up. The second incident, a little less known, involves a contestant going through the sewer chute. As shown by this diagram, the contestant would have to climb up a ladder to get into it, then climb down another ladder once they're in it. According to Mark, the kid had fallen off the ladder inside backwards and landed on his neck. After a short while, the kid ended up being alright. But the kid's father, who happened to be an attorney, threatened to sue Nickelodeon unless he was awarded the prize of the obstacle course, which was a flat screen TV, and Nickelodeon of course obliged. After this moment, the sewer chute was seemingly updated to make it a little easier to get through, as seen by this diagram. And after that incident, Nickelodeon would actually check every application to make sure the parents weren't lawyers. Due to the content of the last two incidents, it's very doubtful they'll ever see the light of day if they've still been archived. The Ruff and Reddy show, which was the first series created by Hanna-Barbera Productions, was an animated series that ran from December of 1957 to April of 1960 on NBC. The series focused on a cat named Ruff and a dog named Reddy. Despite its historical significance, not only being the first Hanna-Barbera series, but being one of the first animated television series in general, the series ended up not gaining any attention, with its final known airing being on Boomerang around 2002. A few select episodes were available through some small home media releases, but in June of 2021, Internet Archive user Ruff and Reddy uploaded all 156 episodes. Brain Search was a game show that ran on Nickelodeon from September of 2009 to May of 2014. The show was hosted by Jeff Sutphin and centered around 6 contestants competing in different answering trivia and interactive challenges. Despite being popular enough to be nominated for a Daytime Emmy Award in 2012, some of the show is incomplete. Out of the 120 episodes, 98 of them are available in full, with the other 22 being partially found. By the Way was a television show that aired on Nickelodeon beginning in 1979. The show was one of the first 5 that aired on Nickelodeon, the other 4 being Pinwheel, Video Comic Book, America Goes Bananas, and Nickel Flicks. The series was what was referred to as a junk drawer series, which means that it was a mix of acquired animation and live-action short films. Prior to December of 2018, no information was known about the series. A newspaper article was unearthed from the October 12, 1979 issue of the Union Times in Warsaw, Indiana, that described the series. A time spreadsheet was also found of shows that aired on Nickelodeon that made mention of the series. On December 26, 2018, the first footage of the series would be found when YouTube user TV Guide 1979 uploaded 10 minutes of footage. To this day, it is still unknown how many episodes were produced, nor what episodes are shown in the 10 minutes of footage that was uploaded. Sing Me a Story with Belle was a series that ran on Disney Channel from September of 1995 to March of 1997. The show followed Belle from Beauty and the Beast, now owning a bookshop in her village. The series was made to show off the higher quality animation that was provided by the educational informational requirements by the FCC. Belle would be portrayed by Lindsay McLeod, a Portland-based actor who went on to portray Belle in another Disney video, Belle's Tales of Friendship, as well as providing voices for the Cowboy Bebop movie English dub. The series was seemingly overshadowed by another series, Timon and Pumbaa, premiering the same day and being based off of another Disney film, The Lion King. Although 65 episodes are known to exist, only 26 have been identified with titles, and out of those 26, 6 of them are lost. Laughlets was a series of 20 to 30 second shorts created by Walt Disney Studios sometime between Laugh-O-Grams and Alice Comedies, which would put the date between 1922 and 1923. Very little information is known about the shorts, and other than the titles of them, 8 of them are known to exist, with all of them being lost. Dreamfinders was a supposed series created for the launch of the Disney Channel in 1983. Promotional material for the series surfaced, giving credibility that the series at least had existed. The series was based on the Epcot attraction Journey into Imagination. The show centered around a group of children that could find solutions to their real-world problems with the help of Dreamfinder, who was referred to as Old Eli. Eli can be seen in the Disney Channel launch during the countdown. A script of an episode was obtained in 2016. In July of 2022, Lost Media Wiki user Nostalgia Guy found a promo of the series, which featured the actors on the set of the series. However, D23 chief archivist Dave Smith confirmed that the series was never produced to begin with. The all-new Mickey Mouse Club was the third incarnation of the Mickey Mouse Club that ran from 1989 to 1994. The series was one of the more forgotten iterations of the series, seeing as it featured some no-name actors such as Ryan Gosling and unknown musical artists such as Christina Aguilera, Justin Timberlake, and Britney Spears. Although a handful of episodes have resurfaced throughout the years, the show is still hard to come by. There are also live recordings of singing tours, as well as autograph signing sessions and several TV specials that were created. Joy Junction was a 1980s Christian television series that ran on the Christian Television Network. The series featured a slew of characters including Sheriff Don, Professor, Miss Peterson, and Ron, who we will come back to later. Only 13 episodes of the series exist, with a handful of small clips being available. The reason for the series being so obscure was most likely from a disturbing case that came from it. In March of 2013, Ronald Brown was arrested on charges. Ronald Brown was the man who played Ron in Joy Junction. He was found guilty and sentenced to 20 years in prison, where he remains as of the recording of this video. I won't go into much detail on what exactly Brown did, as it doesn't pertain to this whole iceberg, as well as the absolutely deplorable. Like, I can't even begin to think about words that could describe what Ronald Brown thought about doing to children. If you want to find it out, by the way, don't look it up, but if you really want to and are interested in hearing about like disturbing cases and stuff like that, you will hear some of the most vile words that have been uttered by man that you will ever hear in your life. It is absolutely disgusting. Because of the whole case and the fact that the series was obscured to begin with, it's unlikely episodes will resurface unless there are some with home recordings. In January of 2000, MTV taped a pilot for a game show named Dude, This Sucks. The show was similar to other game shows such as The Gong Show and America's Got Talent. The premise of the show was that talent would go up and perform, and if one of the judges didn't like the act, they would slam a hammer on their podium, then the audience would say, "Dude, this sucks." During this taping, two teenage girls were instructed to stand on the stage in this sort of audience participation bit. Then, two men emerged, calling themselves the Shower Rangers, that were dressed in a Boy Scout-esque attire. The two seemed to act out a campfire scene before turning their backs to the crowd, dropping their pants, and spraying liquid excrement all over the crowd, dousing the poor two teenage girls in the process, as the two had taken a very powerful laxative before the performance. A lawsuit was filed on MTV, which was settled out of court, and the show was canned. Because of the content of the tape as well as the lawsuit that came from it, it is very unlikely the pilot will ever be released unless a leak somehow comes out. However, in 2023, Mike from the YouTube channel All Things Lost found a special named Celebrity Dude, This Sucks, which aired as a part of MTV's Spring Break in March of 2001. He got it from another YouTuber, FNP Films. Although this is not the Shower Rangers pilot, he says that it was similar to what was described. Okay, buckle in, this one gets a little wild. Do I even want to talk about this? Yeah, why not? I already wrote it. It's already going. Seriously Dude, I'm Gay was a 2-hour-long TV reality special that was set to air on Fox in June of 2004. The special was to be hosted by Amanda Byram of Total Wipeout fame. The series centered on two straight men that were competing for a prize of $50,000. What they had to do for that prize was to pass themselves off as gay for a week, including fully immersing themselves into gay culture, even coming out to friends and family members. They would be coached by 3 gay men dubbed mentors on their gayness. They would also participate in daily challenges, which included, but not limited to, swimsuit modeling for a group of gay men, confiding in a former teammate that the contestant wrestled due to the enjoyment of being in close contact with sweaty boys, fork feeding dinner to a blind date, and convincing the date to spank them, making a gay face, I don't know what a gay face is, and naming a favorite male pornographic film actor. At the end of the week, a panel of gay men would judge the two on how they acted, and the winner would be awarded the prize. Fox put out a press release for the series, describing it as, get this, a heterosexual male's worst nightmare, turning gay overnight. It's like they're asking for a lawsuit. Spoiler alert, the special gained universal backlash from LGBT right groups such as GLAAD, who claimed that it would actually cause an increase in violence against gay people. Ultimately, Fox shelved the special in late May, a very wise move by the way, roughly a week and some change before it was set to air, citing creative reasons. Yeah, that's definitely why. No material from the show has ever been released, and the only piece of media that is tied to the series is this image, which features contestant Larry Anderson pictured in the middle with his gay coaches. Not to be confused with the 1957 series, Blondie was a CBS series that premiered in September of 1968. Based off of the popular comic strip of the same name, the series was incredibly panned on release, which led to it being cancelled in January of 1969. The series starred Patricia Hardy as the titular Blondie, Will Hutchins as Dagwood, and Peter Robbins as Alexander, who is best known for portraying Charlie Brown in many Peanuts television specials. The series was different from other sitcoms from around the time, as many shows would portray the husband as being dim-witted. Blondie portrayed all the adults as being dim-witted. Because it was received so poorly, it never really got a chance to get off the ground, and preservation wasn't really good for the series, as it never aired as reruns, never syndicated, and never released on home media. Currently, only the show's intro, a small clip, and the entire 10th episode Marriage Menders are available online. Bob Patterson was an ABC sitcom that aired from October to November of 2001. The series starred Jason Alexander as the titular Bob Patterson, a self-help guru who struggles with balancing his work life with his personal life. Due to poor critical reception and tanking ratings, 5 out of the 10 produced episodes went unaired. Currently, the 5 episodes that were aired are available in full, but the other 5 unaired episodes are lost, or when it comes to the 9th episode, Matchmaker Bob, there was a short clip uploaded to actress Joanna Canton's YouTube channel, who played the character of Hope Daniels in the episode. The Brothers Grunt was a 1994 MTV animated series created by Ed, Edd n Eddy series creator Danny Antonucci. The series ran from 1994 to 1995 before being cancelled due to low ratings. While most of the 35 episodes are available online, 13 episodes, 10 confirmed and 3 unconfirmed, went unaired after the series was cancelled. The first 6 episodes can be found in their entirety, while the 42nd episode, Pooh Bah Blues, is partially lost. The last 3 episodes are, like I said earlier, unconfirmed to exist. In the 1980s, a series of animated shorts were created based on the Curious George books created by H.A. Rey and Margaret Rey. The series centered around 4 to 5 minute shorts that usually featured George going on some sort of adventure with the man in the yellow hat. I can't believe that after all these years, he has still been not given a name. Wait, his name is Ted Shackelford. So anyway, every episode would involve George doing something bad, but ended up doing something good to supplement it. Out of the 104 episodes created, 91 have been found, while the other 13 remain lost. DXP was a block that aired on Disney XD every night during the summer of 2017. The block was made to compete with other late-night blocks, such as Cartoon Network's Adult Swim and Nickelodeon's Nick at Night. Since this is a combination of multiple series, I will go through each one of them and talk about them separately. ESL Speedrunners was a series that showcased speedrunning in video games with some talented speedrunners. 8 episodes were created for the series, and currently 2 of them are fully found, 2 of them are partially lost, and the other 4 are fully lost. Not much is known about the next series, Polaris Primetime, but what I can gather, it was basically a gaming news show that featured special guests such as Matt Pat from Game Theory. Out of the 7 episodes made, only 1 of them is available. Arguably the most well-known series, Polaris Player Select, was a show that featured popular gaming YouTube videos from creators such as Jacksepticeye and LD Shadow Lady. Unlike some of the other shows, this one continued past the lifespan of the DXP block, lasting until 2020. 3 seasons were made, with season 1 being found in full and the other 2 being partially found. Parker Plays was a series that featured Parker Coppins playing and reviewing different games. 2 seasons were created for the series, the first one being 16 episodes, and the second season only being 6 episodes before it was seemingly cancelled along with the DXP block. This series seems to be the best preserved, as out of the episodes in the first season, 15 of them are fully found, while the other one is partially found, and in Season 2, all of the episodes are found. Play with Caution was a sort of video game competition with two teams competing with different distractions being thrown at them while they play the games. This series is the worst preserved, as none of the 4 episodes are found. However, there are bits and pieces of clips that can be found if you know where to look. And finally, there is Waypoint Presents, which was a sort of Vice-style documentary reality series about gaming culture. Out of the 8 episodes created, 3 of them are available, which can be found on Waypoint's YouTube channel. The other 5 are lost. In 2020, it was announced that a Lizzie McGuire revival was going to be streamed on Disney+. However, showrunner Terry Minsky left Disney due to creative differences, and the series ultimately fell through. The plot synopsis states that the show would have followed Lizzie, now 30 years old, as she becomes an apprentice to an interior designer in New York while being engaged to a man who owns a restaurant in Soho. But she discovers that he had been cheating on her, which forced her to move back to Los Angeles. Not much promotional material has surfaced, and only a few pictures and a 40-second video of Hilary Duff announcing the revival are available. I included this on this tier because there are 2 episodes that were known to have been taped. Breakfast with Bear was a spin-off series of the successful Playhouse Disney series Bear in the Big Blue House. The series was most likely created due to the passing of Sherilyn Thigpen, who played Luna the Moon in the original series. The spin-off follows Bear aiding children in their daily routines such as hygiene and healthy eating, with Noel McNeil reprising his role as Bear. 20 episodes were made for the series, with only 6 of them being fully found, another one being partially lost, and the other 13 being fully lost. 13 Queens Boulevard was a sitcom created for ABC in 1979. The premise of the series followed a group of people living in an apartment complex located at the titular 13 Queens Boulevard, Queens, New York. The series even starred Jerry Van Dyke, Dick Van Dyke's father. 8 episodes are confirmed to exist, with 4 of them being found and the other 4 lost. A 9th episode titled The Lift is unconfirmed to exist. The Adventures of Hyperman was an animated series that aired on CBS from 1995 to 1996. 13 episodes aired for the series before it was canceled. The series was based off of the 1985 IBM computer game of the same name. The series centered on Hyperman, an alien superhero, and his dog Stud Puppy, as they are sent to Earth to protect it from villains that want to take over Earth. Although there were 13 episodes that were aired, 25 of them are known to exist. Out of those episodes, only 3 full episodes are found, with 5 episodes being partially found in either English or Spanish. Not to be confused with the 1975 series Noddy, The Adventures of Noddy was the first to feature the character and aired on ITV from 1955 to 1958. It has been confirmed that the entire series has been archived within the BBC. What is surprising about this entry is that despite nearly no footage being found, a lot is actually known about this. Like, the page on the Lost Media Wiki is a lot longer than some of the others on this iceberg that actually have a lot of footage found. There are a few home media releases that have been confirmed to exist, with all of them being pretty rare to come by. There are also a lot of conflicting statements on when it comes to episode listings, synopses, and the amount of episodes that were created. According to the Lost Media Wiki, 53 episodes are known to exist, 6 of the episodes are partially found, 46 are lost, and only 1 episode is found in full, that one being Noddy and the Moon. Finally, Jerk Beast was a public access show that aired in Seattle from April of 2001 to September of 2002. The premise of the show centered around a large beast named the Jerk Beast, who would swear and make other vulgar remarks at people who called into the show. Although most of these people called into the show knowing that they were going to be insulted. The series ran for 2 seasons of 50 episodes total. Half of them are either fully lost or partially lost, with the other half being fully found. All of the episodes that were available on YouTube were taken down by series creator Brady Hall, but can still be found on Anon Files. A couple of years after the show ended, the creators made a film based off of the Jerk Beast and eventually formed an underground garage punk band named Steaming Wolf Penis. And now we will move on to the third layer, and the last layer of this part, lost music. This layer is reserved for lost songs, lost albums, lost EPs, lost soundtracks, pretty much anything that has to do with music, except for musical scores, as I have saved those for lost literature. And so we will move on to the third layer, lost music. Cigarettes and Valentines was a canceled 2003 album from the punk rock band Green Day. The album was originally going to be a follow-up to their 2000 album Warning. However, during production, the master recordings were stolen, which caused production on the album to cease. Instead of re-recording the album, they decided to rework it into their 2004 album, American Idiot. 5 songs were confirmed to have existed on the album. The title track, Cigarettes and Valentines, only survives from a 2011 live performance of the song. Another song, Too Much Too Soon, was carried over onto American Idiot. The other 3 songs are lost, and unless there exists some sort of copy of the recordings, it's very unlikely that those last 3 will be found. All Lights Fucked on the Harry I'm Drooling was one of the first projects from Canadian post-rock band Godspeed You Black Emperor. Other than the very unique title, the album became heavily sought after in the lost media community. Only 33 issues were made, with each of them having a personalized numbering showing which copy this was. In 2013, Reddit user Casket Jack posted photos claiming to have a copy of the album. He posted photos of the tape, the booklet, and uploaded 2 songs on bayfiles.net. However, he went dark after that, fearing legal issues. On February 4th of 2022, an anonymous user leaked what they claimed was the entire album on 4chan's MU music board. 10 days later, the band uploaded the album on their Bandcamp page. Perhaps the most sought after piece of lost music, Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, is a lost 2015 album from the hip-hop group Wu-Tang Clan. The album was said to have been the last piece of Wu-Tang sounding music ever made, and featured every living member of the clan at the time. Only one version of the album was pressed, that of which was sold at an auction for $2 million to Martin Shkreli. Shkreli had to sign a contract stating that he would not release the album online or commercially until the year 2103. 88 years after the album was made. Currently, the intro to the album is available after Shkreli showed it at a party following Donald Trump's 2016 presidential victory. There are also compilations of different snippets, although it's hard to figure out which snippet is to which song. Michael Jackson has a back catalog of hundreds of songs that have gone unreleased over the years, although many of these have since been released. Take A Place With No Name, for example, inspired by America's A Horse With No Name. This track was remixed and released as well as the original on his posthumous record, Escape. There's just too many to list off here, so I suggest looking at his back catalog yourself if you're interested. Carnival of Light is an experimental song created by the Beatles that was specifically made for the million-volt light and sound rave. The song clocked in at 13 minutes and 48 seconds, and is described as being very avant-garde. The song was broken down into 4 different tracks. Track 1 is described as distorted, hypnotic drum and organ sounds. Track 2 is described as a distorted lead guitar. Track 3 is personally my favorite description, as it states it is the sound of a church organ. Various effects, water gargling was one, and voices, perhaps most intimidating of all, John and Paul screaming dementedly and bawling aloud random phrases such as "Are you alright?" and "Barcelona." And finally, track 4 is described as various indescribable sound effects with heaps of echo and manic tambourine. The band and the management team have teased a release, most prominently Paul McCartney, who has been vocal about wanting the track released since as far back as 1996. Nowadays, in order for the track to get released, he would have to obtain permission from everyone in the band or their estates in the cases of John Lennon and George Harrison. This was a supposed lost song for the Nickelodeon series Ren and Stimpy that was written by Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain. The story goes that Cobain walked into Spumco and wanted to write a song for the series, and the producers weren't very fond of Kurt's arrogance, so they threw out the recording. The story was told by voice actor Billy West during the Nerdist podcast. In a 2019 interview with John Kay, he stated that he had no idea about the rumor, but in May of 2022, Billy West stated that there was no song made and the story isn't true, despite telling it himself. Black Gold is a lost album from guitarist Jimi Hendrix. that was recorded sometime in 1970 before his death. The album was recorded without his bandmates on a cassette in his apartment in Greenwich Village. The album featured 17 songs, 7 on side 1 and 10 on side 2. A few of the tracks have made it on to other albums such as The Cry of Love, which features Drifting and Astro Man that were on Black Gold. In 2010, his sister would release the opening track, Suddenly November Morning, on a box set. To this day, no other recordings from the demo tape have surfaced, despite claims from his sister that they would be released in the 2010s. Imagine Dragons' I Wish You Well is a track from their early history, back when they were still relatively unknown. The song was performed at the Bunkhouse Saloon in Las Vegas in April of 2010. The song was teased in an episode of the official Blue Microphones podcast in the form of a 50-second clip in high studio quality. Then there is the footage of their performance of the song at the Valora Live Music Gallery in Provo, Utah in April of 2009, giving evidence that this song was played more than once. The footage is in low quality, with the audio being muffled, but as it stands right now, the footage is the only way people can listen to I Wish You Well in its entirety. Following hip-hop group NWA's breakup in 1991, several of the members would start to beef with one another. One of these members was Eazy-E, who would release Real Motherfucking G's, which was a diss on Dr. Dre, Suge Knight, and the whole Death Row record label. The only thing was that he didn't diss Ice Cube after Ice released No Vaseline, which was a diss on Eazy-E, except he almost did. He Melts Cubes was a supposed unreleased song of a supposed unreleased EP that Eazy made entirely dissing Ice Cube. The EP would have been named Temporary Insanity. The story goes that Ice Cube listened to the entire EP and left the studio in tears. DJ Yella, another NWA member, claims to be in possession of an Eazy-E diss track, but did not mention what exactly it was. It has also been rumored that the EP was never released because the two reconciled before Eazy-E's death in 1995. Out of respect, it's very likely that neither the track nor the full EP will ever be released. Shaquille O'Neal Presents His Super Friends Volume 1 was a supposed 2001 album from basketball legend Shaquille O'Neal. The album was going to be released on September 11, 2001, which is just bad timing in my opinion. The album was pushed back to October before being shelved entirely. 15 songs were made for the album, including 4 of them that were cut, making 19 songs in total. Out of those, 14 of them are found, while the other 5 are lost. In March of 1999, the Wiggles recorded an album titled Get Ready to Wiggle, to be released in the United Kingdom exclusively by Walt Disney Records. Little is known about this album, but the cover art was uploaded onto Instagram. The source of the image is unknown. In April of 2008, alt-metal band Deftones began working on an album titled Eros. The album was seemingly darker than their other works. In November of that year, bassist Chi Chang was involved in a serious car accident and fell into a semi-comatose state. Production on the album ceased and was seemingly never completed. The band would release 2 more albums in 2010 and 2012 with replacement bassist Sergio Vega, which were more uplifting, seemingly to cope with the tragic event. Chang would pass away from cardiac arrest in April of 2013. Chino Moreno stated that he wanted the album released when Chang got better so that they could go on tour, and since his death, he has stated that he would want the album still released. Several pieces from the album have come to light, including Smile, which was uploaded by Moreno on his YouTube channel in 2014. The band would periodically perform a song named Melanie, which was supposed to also be on the album. In 2007, heavy metal band Avenged Sevenfold recorded a demo for a song titled Big Bear. The song was thought up by then drummer James Sullivan in a dream that he had while staying in a cabin named Big Bear. The dream was of a man who murders his ex-lover after he believes she will reject him, who then goes on to haunt and eventually murder him. If this plot sounds familiar, that's because this song would eventually become A Little Piece of Heaven from their 4th album, their self-titled. The song can be heard as background music of a breakdown video for the song, but other than that, the demo has not seen a proper release, but could be released as a sort of bonus track in the future. In 2004, pop artist Ed Sheeran wrote an album when he was only 11 years old named Spinning Man. The album featured 14 songs, 5 of them have been found as they have been released as a part of his 2005 EP, The Orange Room. The other 9 are still lost. In 1993, Eminem recorded a song called So Many Styles before he received mainstream success in the latter half of the 1990s. The song is known for its racist lyrics, even including Eminem dropping an N-word. Since Eminem owns the rights to a lot of his early works, and with the content of the lyrics, it's very unlikely that this track will ever be released in full, although a 36-second snippet is available with the N-word included in it. In the summer of 1981, a Star Wars-esque rock band named Helix performed at the Tomorrowland space stage at Disneyland in Anaheim, California. The band was relatively popular at the park, and after their run ended in September of that year, plans were made to release a studio album under Warner Bros. Records. However, supposedly the record company went through a shakeup and the band was dropped and broke up shortly after. Rumors of master recordings still exist, but the only known demos belong to Mike Post, who supposedly threw them out, according to his interview in Defunctland's documentary about the band. In the early days of the internet, MySpace was one of the largest and most influential sites. The site was paramount in launching many careers in music such as Soulja Boy, J. Cole, and Kid Cudi. In 2018, MySpace went through a server migration. Now this wouldn't be a big deal if it wasn't for an email that a user got, stating that there was a problem in migrating all data from over 3 years ago. Another user received an email stating that the lost files could not be recovered. This meant that over 50 million songs uploaded between 2003 to 2015 were now lost forever. However, in April of 2019, 400,000 MP3 files were uploaded to the Internet Archive as a part of the MySpace Dragon Horde. The files were uploaded to MySpace between 2008 and 2010 and were a part of an academic study, totaling over 1 terabyte in space. While some of the songs were from now popular names, it's possible that those songs are still available, but given that the songs lost belong to around 14 million different artists, it's very unlikely that most of these songs still exist. Before Rhett McLaughlin and Link Neal began their work on YouTube with Good Mythical Morning, they were engineers at Black & Veatch. While working there, they would create music. In 2001, they created Just Mail Us the Grammy, an 11-song album. Although some songs have been slowly released over the years, it's very unlikely the full album will be released out of embarrassment. In 1949, Frank Sinatra recorded a rendition of Cole Porter's Farewell Amanda for the 1949 Spencer Tracy film Adam's Rib. 6 seconds would be played during the film, but nothing else has been released. The song was supposedly recorded in 4 takes with an orchestral backing by Johnny Green and ran for 1 minute and 17 seconds. While compiling the compilation album Frank Sinatra in Hollywood 1940 to 1964, the producers had trouble finding it, as the only optical film that held the recording was completely disintegrated. A master acetate was believed to have the recording, but only included the piano track. The track is officially considered lost, with the Library of Congress listing it as one of its key recordings it is trying to find. Curiosity was an album that was intended to be Canadian singer Carly Rae Jepsen's second album, following her 2008 record, Tug of War. The album was to feature her mega hit, Call Me Maybe. The album was eventually reworked into an extended play to give Call Me Maybe time to grow. The song was eventually featured on her actual second album, Kiss. The album also featured an alternate mix of the title track, Curiosity, as well as another track from the album, Picture, as a Spotify exclusive deluxe bonus track. Other songs from Curiosity have been performed live, such as Lost and Found and Alice in Wonderland. Maniac, written by Michael Sambello for the 1983 film Flashdance, was originally intended to be darker than what it became. The original thought that came to Sambello was that the song was to be about a serial killer that tortures his victims. The song was eventually retooled to be about a girl who dreams of being a dancer, just like in the film. It's unknown what the original lyrics are, and no audio has come from this version, if those original lyrics were even recorded. In 1998, hip-hop lip-syncing duo Milli Vanilli planned to release a comeback album titled Back in an Attack. For those who don't know, Milli Vanilli was a duo that consisted of Fab Morvan and Rob Pilatus. They rose to massive popularity in the late 1980s before being outed as lip-syncers. as the singers on their studio releases weren't even them, as they were different people. In 1997, the two got back together and began work on Back in Attack. However, Rob was struck with personal issues, including drug problems, which would take his life in April of 1998. Because of the death of Rob, the album was never released, and it is very unlikely that it ever will. Leviathan is an unreleased song from the virtual band Gorillaz. Damon Albarn, the man behind the band, worked on the song with post-punk band The Horrors and was supposed to be on the 2010 album Plastic Beach. Damon claimed that the song was about a man who was paranoid that a giant whale was trying to kill him. The only audio of the song is a low-quality clip that can be heard in the making of Plastic Beach. Pseudo Scorpion is a supposed album from an artist named Zen Jin that featured snippets of. Not much is known about Zen Jin or Pseudo Scorpion. There are rumors that the album was available to download through sites such as Mega, but these have not been confirmed. There is a YouTube video that was uploaded in October 2020 that many claimed was the album, at least I think so, but this has also not been confirmed. However, it's very possible that this album doesn't even exist in the first place. This is a personal entry, and I'm just going to go off of background knowledge from what I know, since I found nobody else talking about this. In July of 1987, rock band Starship released their second album, No Protection. Included on the album was the second track, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. The song served as the theme for the 1987 film Mannequin, released in February of that year. In the trailer for the movie towards the end, an alternate version of the song can be heard, which I assume was a demo version made for the trailer before the official studio version was completed. It doesn't even sound like Mickey Thomas, the lead singer of Starship, so it's also possible that the song was written for a different band but then handed over to Starship. I did some digging around but couldn't find anything. There's next to no information. The closest that I could find to that version was a re-recorded version that Starship put out, but that wasn't until like the 2000s. In 2019, producer The Alchemist claimed that he and rapper Earl Sweatshirt created a whole album under a fake YouTube name and that no one has found it yet. Because there isn't a whole lot of information about this, it's believed that the tweet was a joke and that the album doesn't exist. Although some believe that YouTube user Came in Clutches was a burner account by Earl. The Alchemist claims that he doesn't know if the album is still online, and Earl Sweatshirt has refused to talk about it at all. Mama's Boyfriend, also known as Mama's Boy, is an unreleased track from rapper Kanye West that was originally supposed to be on his 2010 album, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. The track is about the multiple men that Kanye's mother, Donda West, dated during his childhood. There are several versions of this song that have made their way online, but the most well-known one is a June 2013 mix done by producer Q-Tip. The track revolves around a sample of Billy Joel's 1977 song, Movin' Out Anthony's Song. Although the song may never be officially released, given Kanye's relevance and fan base, it's entirely possible that the track could be leaked officially online in the future. Bubble Bath is an unfinished album from metal artist and YouTube personality That Poppy. Now you might be confused because her debut EP is also called Bubble Bath. That is because that EP was originally supposed to be an album. The recording sessions took place between 2014 and 2016. 41 songs were rumored to have been recorded for the album, 4 of which were included on the EP. 29 of the songs are leaked, while 8 of them have been partially found. Scandinavian pop group Aqua rose to prominence from their 1997 song Barbie Girl. The group has a lot of content that has gone unreleased, including second and third album content. When it comes to their second album, that group has said that they recorded 50 songs for the album, which means that 40 of those songs are incomplete in varying degrees. The most popular piece of Lost Aqua music is a song titled Here Comes the Birds. The song was performed during their 1998 summer tour, but no studio release exists. The only recording of this song is a low-quality recording a fan made during one of these live shows, but it was most likely that the song was a victim of the second album recording sessions. Alt-rock band Dark was working on their second album, which at the time, at least to the public's knowledge, was untitled. However, in January of 2018, singer Dolores O'Riordan would pass away from an accidental drowning in her London hotel room. At the time, the band was working on their second album, and production was seemingly halted. It's unknown if the album still exists, given that the band members have all gone their separate ways, and given that Andy Rourke, who was the bassist, who was also former Smiths member, passed away in May of 2023, it's very unlikely that we will get anything from this album. In 2009, Tyler the Creator planned on releasing a mixtape titled Dinosaur, not to be confused with the EP he released earlier in his career. A few of these songs would be moved over to the Bastard mixtape, including French, Blow, and Seven. A Discord member named Pac released the full track list on the Tyler Hub server in May of 2022. Since then, one more track has been confirmed to have been on the tape, titled Midnight Funkathon. Out of the now 22 songs on the tape, 19 of them are found, with the solo version of Session being partially lost, and the original version of Odd Toddlers, as well as a track named Serial, are fully lost. The song Die Motherfucker Die by Dr. Dre was originally supposed to be on his 1992 solo debut, The Chronic. However, the song was put on the back burner due to Dre being focused on another song, Deep Cover, with Snoop Dogg for the movie of the same name. It's said that the original version was left unfinished, with only 2 verses being recorded for the song. There was supposedly a commercial for Animal Planet that used the Kanye West song Black Skinhead off his 2013 album Yeezus. The commercial aired sometime in 2014 and featured animal sounds mixed in with the music. In July of 2023, YouTube user Dropout Donda uploaded Black Skinhead Animal Planet Edition, which is either the original audio or perhaps a recreation, which the latter is most likely to be the case. Alt-rock band They Might Be Giants, formed by John Linnell and John Flansburgh prior to the band's formation while they were in high school, recorded a cover of Yoko Ono's Don't Worry Kyoko on reel-to-reel tape. This was one of the first recordings they would make before forming that band. It's still unsure whether the two are in possession of the tape or if it has survived. So there's supposedly an artist named Raspberry 144 MBS who made a music video to one of their songs that features gore videos. It's unclear who this artist is, and the only information I could find was a 30-second audio snippet that supposedly came from a gore video and a Twitter account belonging to a user named Raspberry 144 MBS. In March of 2011, indie rock band The Strokes released their album Angles. The original demo recordings of this album are lost. The story goes that the original producer had them write 18 songs for the album, but frontman Julian Casablancas fired him and threw out all but one of these songs for the album. The only song that made it on the album was Life is Simple in the Moonlight. Julian has confirmed that he is in possession of these tracks, but refuses to release them. A snippet of another song, Taken for a Fool, was played during their YouTube podcast. It's very unlikely the tracks will be released unless the band decides to release them, since bootlegs of their recent work are rare to come by. Lip Show was a collaborative album between pop artist Kesha and rock band The Flaming Lips, to be released in 2014. The album was delayed due to Kesha's at the time ongoing conflict with her former producer, Dr. Luke. The project was seemingly scrapped after that, with Kesha saying in 2019 that she does not know where the songs are. 10 songs were rumored to be on the album, with a few of them being released on the Flaming Lips' 2013 album, The Time Has Come to Shoot You Down, What a Sound, and the last track, Past Lives, being included on Kesha's 2012 album, Warrior. Irish folk singer Van Morrison's 1970 album, His Band and the Street Choir, was originally going to be an a cappella only album. The album was recorded for several weeks before Morrison realized that he could not realistically create an a cappella only album. He would throw out these recordings and start fresh with an entire band, hence the name of the title. Supposedly, the only person to have heard these recordings are Morrison himself, who also supposedly threw out the only recordings. In an interview done in 2017, Icelandic singer Björk recalled a story in which she collaborated with hip-hop group Wu-Tang Clan. It's unsure if any material from this has survived, and Björk only claims to have written a couple songs, meaning that nothing was ever recorded. In 2000, progressive metal band Control Denied began working on a second album titled When Man and Machine Collide. The work began in 1999 when founding member Chuck Schuldiner announced that he was diagnosed with brain cancer. He would write songs for the album until his death in December of 2001. Attempts would be made to continue the album beginning in 2010, but were seemingly canned by 2016. Demo recordings that were leaked in 2004 were believed to have been from the album, but another member confirmed that these were only bedroom demos and not from When Man and Machine Collide. The Garo Gari Gay 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 is a Japanese experimental music project founded in 1985 by Juntaro Yamanouchi. They have been described as being similar to other Japanese harsh noise artists such as Merzbow and Masona, but the group has released music more in the styles of punk rock, noise, and ambient. Out of their expansive discography, one tape has eluded the public. An album named Public Environment was supposedly made in 1995 and only had 5 tapes issued to it. It's unknown what was on the album, as I can't find much information on it in the first place. And finally, to cap off the lost music is another personal entry of mine. During the recording of heavy metal band Quiet Riot's 13th album, Road Rage, vocalist Shawn Nichols was originally brought in to record the album for the band. In February of 2017, they announced that the album would be released in April of that year. However, Nichols left the band, and former American Idol contestant James Durbin was brought in, who then re-recorded the album with his vocals. Due to this, the album was delayed until that summer, and finally the album was released in August of that year. The only piece that remains of this is a track that Nichols released on the date that the album was supposed to be released, which was the title track of the album, Road Rage. In fact, he had won a copyright dispute over that track the next month in May. The rest of the original recordings of Nichols were seemingly thrown out, and given Quiet Riot's lack of modern mainstream popularity, it's very unlikely that any more of these recordings will ever be leaked, and it's most likely that the recordings were just deleted. Okay, so that concludes this first part of the Ultimate Lost Media Iceberg. If you are watching this when the iceberg is uploaded in full, then stick around after this part for us to get into the next part of the iceberg. If you are watching this part only, I thank you for watching and hope that you will watch the next part when it comes out.